question. What about miracles that we read in the Bible? Are they even possible in today's scientific world? That is a very good question. And if it is unanswered, it can serve as a big stumbling block for certainly skeptics and non-believers, and even for believers. You must have come across people saying that you Christians have gone a little bit cuckoo. You're telling me that you believe in talking donkeys, that people walked on water. You believe that dead people can come back to life, and blind people can see when you spit on them. And skeptics would further accuse Christians by saying, well, science has disproved God because miracles are not even scientifically possible. How do we respond to this? Well, what we need to do is somehow, as Christians, show that the naturalistic attitudes of non-believers towards miracles is against common sense, and that their basis of logic is unfounded and it is flawed. Let's explore this and look at it from two perspectives, one from a Christian's perspective, and the other one would be from a naturalist's perspective. Let's start with a Christian's perspective. As Christians, we saw that God reveals his revelations to us in two ways, general way and a specific way. And God knows that there will be many false messengers and many false messages in the end times, and that he wants us to know and listen only to the true message and true messengers. And to do that, God used miracles to help us identify the right message and the right messenger, almost like a seal of authority, if you like. Just like a signature of a person, or a business person these days, that signature is unique to the person, is recognizable, and also something that a sender only possess, or the person who signs only possess. When it comes to miracles, we know that there are hundreds of miracles that was recorded in the Bible, and I think the last count was a consensus of opinion. There are about 250 miracles. And they're bunched up in three separate periods: the period of Moses, the period of Elijah and Elisha, and the period of Jesus Christ. And those were the periods that God was wanting to confirm his message and his messengers. Therefore, miracles can be seen as God's seal of authenticity for his message and his messenger. In short, miracle is an act of God to confirm his message and to confirm his messenger. Miracles, from a Christian perspective, has its characteristics that it is supernaturally produced, and it is supernaturally powerful, and that miracles are purposeful. The purpose is to glorify God and not for entertainment purposes. And the third characteristics would be a miracle is absolutely pure. In other words, it promotes truth and not error. Well, let's now look at from the perspective of non-believers. To further understand where the non-believers are coming from, let's look at the secular world's definition of miracle. It is defined, and I quote, a violation or a suspension of the natural laws of the world, resulting in a supernatural event that otherwise wouldn't happen. If you actually look at this definition and think about it, the definition is actually very, very narrowly done. Given this definition, we can almost understand why the secular world would say that miracles are not scientifically possible. Let's explore this. You see, the secular world's definition is coming from one narrow perspective. It's from within this natural world. And we know that within this natural world, laws apply which are immutable. It cannot be changed. There is a strict order to the natural world, and this order must be obeyed. One cannot simply choose not to obey natural laws. For instance, we can't simply step off a tall building and decide, well, the law of gravity, I'm not going to obey the law of gravity. You can't do that. When you step off a tall building, the law of gravity takes over, and you are not going to be too happy if you do that. You cannot simply say, well, I choose not to obey the law of gravity today. When the laws, natural laws, are changed or violated, life itself will be threatened. Chaos will occur. But consider this. When you live outside the confines of this natural world, when you are outside the universe, when you're outside this created physicality, when you are indeed the creator of this physicality, when you exist before time, before space, and before matter, you are in fact the creator of time, space, and matter. As seen in the scripture, John chapter 8, verse 58, I quote, "Truly, truly, I tell you," Jesus said, "before Abram, I am," unquote. When you are the creator, you have the authority, you have the capability and the will to add to existing laws or take away existing laws. You do not need to violate existing laws or change it or suspend existing laws. You simply add to it when you see fit, and you simply take it away when you see fit. Let's further illustrate this by looking at an example. Let's assume that you have made a cardboard box. You made this box, and inside this box has its own temperature. The natural room temperature will be maintained in this box. Well, then you choose to change the temperature of this box or inside this box temporarily. What you do, you grab a block of ice and you put that ice in the box, close it up, and what happens? The temperature in the box changes. And when you've decided you take the ice block out of this box, what happens to the temperature inside this cardboard box? It returns to the room temperature. You see, I or you who has made this box, who lives outside the box, can choose if you want to change the temperature temporarily by adding and taking away things, because you are the creator of this box. Let's look at an even more practical example, the law of drowning. Humans cannot stay underwater, we know that, without help for more than a few minutes before we drown. This is called the natural law of drowning, and we all know that. And if I stand here and say that we can survive underwater without help for half an hour, you would say that would be a miracle. But if I told you that I have already done that without help, if I told you I have survived in a bowl of liquid for more than 1 hour, in fact, I survived in a bowl of liquid for 9 months, you would say, oh, that is a miracle. You see, when I was in my mother's womb, I survived in this bowl of liquid for 9 months. At that time, during that time, the law of drowning still exists. But God, our Creator, added a special ability so that I could survive in this bowl of liquid until the day I was born, and that ability was taken away from me. God added a special purpose, and He took the purpose away when it's done, without changing the law of gravity. So if our Creator, imagine that, can make us all human beings live underwater for 9 months, do you think He cannot make a donkey talk? Easily. So when we follow through this logic, we can deduce that miracles are at least possible because God, our Creator, exists. Well, we are not asserting that the miracles that are written in the Bible are true as yet. We know it's true, but we're not making that point. At the moment, we are starting from base one, asking the question, is miracle even possible, or is there a possibility that miracle can happen given this scientific world? So when you think about the logic that has been presented so far, it is at least possible, we can say. And I could almost understand why the natural world assumes that it's not possible or see that it's not possible. It's because they do not go beyond this natural world. To be able to understand or at least assert that the miracles are possible, you need to go beyond this natural world to extract an explanation from the supernatural world. In other words, we have to see it from the perspective of the supernatural world, not within the confines of the natural world. Given that, we can understand why, that given the confines of the natural world, you would see there are no miracles. But if you get out of the confines of this natural world and go into the supernatural realm, you can see why miracles are possible. In fact, God had already created the biggest miracle, called the universe. Let's now further explore into the basis upon which the secular world believe that there is no miracle. Where did they come from? This belief came from a thinking in the 1700s. This is the period of the Enlightenment in Europe. And it came from a person called David Hume, who died in 1776, a well-known Scottish enlightened philosopher. Now, his basis of thinking, which is currently still a major influence of our secular world thinking. And David Hume's thinking is this, which is flawed, and we will explain why it's flawed. His thinking goes into 5 points. The first point is, he says that natural law is a description of regular occurrence. That makes sense. We agree with that. And number 2, he's saying a miracle is by definition a rare occurrence. Yes, we will agree with that. Then he goes to number 3. This is where we see flaw in it. He's saying the evidence of the regular occurrence is always greater than the rare occurrence. Now, I want you to absorb this. I'll repeat this. The evidence of the regular occurrence is always greater than the rare occurrence. Now, on the surface, it looks and sounds logical, but just bear with us here. It is not. Let's now go and look at number 4 first, and we'll come back. Number 4, he asserts, or David Hume asserts that a wise man always bases his belief on the greater evidence. Then, number 5, he concludes, therefore, a wise man should never believe in miracles. Now, the flaw in this thinking resides in item 3, and let's explore that. Item 3 says the evidence of the regular occurrence is always greater. Notice the word greater than the rare occurrence. Now, when the word greater was used, David Hume meant greater in quantity, number of occurrences. He never thought of the believability of the occurrences. Let us go further into this. You see, there are rare events that has happened that are believable. I mean, history of the world is riddled with rare occurrences that are believable by both scientists, skeptics, and Christians, Buddhists, Hindus. Doesn't matter. There are rare occurrences that are believable. Let's look at an example. I was born only once, but I believe I exist because I'm here. I'm here talking to you. Just as the scientist would believe that he exists because even though he was born only once, a very, very rare occurrence. But yet the scientist would believe that he himself exists. The birth of the universe happened only once, and yet naturalists and skeptics believe that it happened because it exists so many years ago, and yet they believe it happened because the universe exists today. So using their argument, we can the word greater by saying a wise man always based his belief on, instead of greater evidence, would say a wise man always based his belief on believable evidence. Now, if we insert that into number 3, then we can then say a wise man ought to also believe in the possibility of miracles. It makes sense, doesn't it? Can you see the problem of the naturalistic view? Sometimes for a naturalist, it's a matter of the heart, not of evidence. Naturalists just do not want to believe in miracles, regardless of the evidence, because there is a moral judgment involved. In fact, strangely, naturalists, skeptics who do not believe in miracles actually do believe in miracles, but they believe in it selectively. Let me give you an example. They will have no problem believing that they have won first prize in a lottery draw last week. Now, think about this. Even though that lottery draw would only happen once ever in their life, it'll probably never ever happen again in their life. Yet they would believe in it. You're not going to catch them saying this, "No, I don't believe in this lottery draw because it's a rare occurrence and I only believe in events with greater occurrences, so I'm not going to cash in my ticket." I bet this skeptic will be in a flash out there cashing the ticket in when he finds out that he's won first prize in a lottery draw. So miracles are indeed highly possible. So believing in them does not make us Christians cuckoo or going crazy. Given what we have said, it just makes the non-believers themselves cannot or refuse to see outside the box, so to speak. That's why we believe that miracles are possible.